Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us.
Today we're going to tackle something I think we all dread just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's that job interview question.
Yeah.
What is your biggest weakness?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you answer that?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
We're going to deep dive into this with some help from Career Vids.
Okay.
They have a really insightful, I think, way to approach this question.
And we're going to break it all down. But
Right.
one thing I think that we should address right off the bat
Yeah.
are those canned responses that I think we've all probably used at some point.
For sure.
You know, I'm a perfectionist or I work too hard.
Right.
But those just don't work anymore.
Well, and they even say in the video, like, please don't use these.
Yeah, they're like, stop it.
We can spot them a mile away.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think they fall so flat? What are interviewers really trying to figure out with this question?
Yeah, why even ask it?
Right.
It seems like a setup.
It's all about self-awareness, I think.
They're not looking for like a list of your flaws.
Right.
They want to know, like, do you actually know what your strengths and weaknesses are?
Okay.
And more importantly, like, do you have a growth mindset?
So it sounds like how you answer this question is more important than what you're actually saying almost.
Yeah, because like if you're giving them a canned answer, that just shows that you haven't put any thought into it.
Yeah, like you're not prepared.
Right.
You're just trying to like...
You're hiding something.
Yeah. You're not being authentic.
Right.
And I think...
And that's really what they're looking for. They want to see the real you.
Yeah, and if you can, instead of trying to hide your weaknesses, if you can kind of own them.
Yes.
And be like, yeah, this is something I struggle with, but I'm working on it.
Exactly.
That shows so much more.
Growth and initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that?
How do we do?
How do we use this question to our advantage?
Because that's really what it is. It's like flipping the script.
So Career Vids actually gives 7 kind of common weaknesses that I think with the right framing, you can totally spin into a strength.
Okay.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that weakness that's both relatable, but then also relevant to the role.
So it's like choosing the right tool from your toolbox.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What's the first one?
So the first one they talk about is being overcritical.
Okay.
Particularly of like your own work.
So the first one they talk about is being overcritical, particularly of like your own work.
Oh, yeah.
And so on the surface, that sounds like, you know, sleepless nights, just revisions constantly.
Yeah, like you said, overthinking things. I mean, I've definitely been there.
Totally.
So how do you spin that?
Well, you can frame it as like, you're someone who just has really high standards.
Okay.
Like you genuinely care about the quality of your work.
So it's like you're saying that good enough isn't actually good enough for you.
Exactly. Like you want it to be great.
Okay.
But the key here is to pair it with an action plan.
Okay.
Like, okay, so you're overcritical.
Yeah.
How are you channeling that into constructive feedback?
Right. So it's not just like I'm constantly criticizing.
Right.
It's I'm using that to make the work better.
Right. And how are you helping other people?
That-
Because if you're just like harping on them all the time,
Right. That's
not a good look.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Yeah, so it's all about balance, I think.
And that's where like choosing your weakness that aligns with the role is important too.
Exactly.
Because if this is a job
Yeah.
where attention to detail is important,
Right.
that's a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So like if you're applying to be a designer,
Right.
they want you to be overcritical
Exactly.
to an extent.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so the next one they talk about is having difficulty delegating,
Ooh.
which I think a lot of us struggle with.
Yes. Especially those of us who are like really independent.
Yes.
Or detail-oriented.
Yes.
Or both.
It's just easier to do it yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Like if you want something done right,
Right.
you got to do it yourself.
Which is the opposite of what you should do.
Well, and it can lead to burnout too.
Totally.
Because you're just doing everything yourself.
And then it prevents other people on your team from growing.
Right, because they're never given the opportunity.
Exactly.
So how do we spin this one?
So you can say like, I like to be in control of things or whatever.
I'm a control freak.
Right.
That's kidding.
But I'm also like actively working on building trust with my colleagues and learning how to delegate effectively.
So you're acknowledging that like you're working on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not perfect at it.
Because none of us are.
Exactly.
Right.
It's all about framing.
Yeah.
So you're showing them like, hey, I'm a team player.
Right.
I recognize that this is a weakness.
It's not just about me.
And I'm actively working on getting better.
What's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is impatience.
Okay.
Particularly with, like, slow progress.
Well, especially, like, in today's world.
Right.
Where everything is, like, go, go, go.
Instant gratification.
Yes.
All the time.
I feel like everyone's a little impatient.
Right.
These days.
Totally.
But you don't want to just come out and say, like,
I have no patience.
I'm impatient.
Yeah.
Like, how do we...
Well, so you can spin it as, like, you're really driven.
Okay.
Like, you want to see results.
Okay.
You have a sense of urgency.
Right. Which, again, depending on the role,
exactly,
could be a good thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, if they're looking for someone who's
going to get things done.
a go-getter.
Yeah.
Who's going to make things happen.
Right.
Like, you're their person.
So it's like we're seeing this common thread here,
yes,
right? It's like you're finding the positive
exactly
in the so-called negative.
Exactly. It's all about the framing.
It's the spin.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the spin.
I like it.
So, yeah, with impatience, you're basically saying, like, I'm really passionate. I want to see us succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But I also recognize that good things take time.
Okay.
Like, you have to be patient.
So you're showing that you understand that balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just like
right.
bulldozing your way through.
You understand that there's a process.
Yes.
And that other people are involved.
Yes.
Okay, this is good. This is good. What else we got?
Okay, so the next one is trouble saying no.
Oh, yeah.
Which I
feel like so many people deal with this.
Right, essentially like
yeah.
people pleasers in the room.
Yes.
Raise your hand.
It's that like you want to be helpful.
Right.
You want to be a team player.
Exactly.
But then you end up with like way too much on your plate.
Yes. And then you're resentful.
Yes.
And you're burnt out.
Because you're doing too much.
Yeah.
You're not able to actually focus on the things that maybe you're best at.
Right.
Or you enjoy the most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we frame this?
How do we frame it?
As a positive.
Yeah.
Without looking like we're like lazy or that we're not team players.
Right.
Because we are.
Right.
So you can say something like, I'm really a hard worker. I love taking on new projects, but I'm also learning that it's important to set boundaries. Like, I need to be able to focus on the task at hand.
Okay.
And give it my all.
So it's about like managing expectations and your time.
Exactly. Yeah. And being open about it.
Right. Because you don't want to get to the point where you're so overwhelmed that you're not able to do anything well.
Exactly. You got to be upfront and honest about your bandwidth.
All right. What's next? This is so insightful. I almost forgot we were talking about interview strategies.
But that's what it is, right? Yeah. It's like how you handle real life stuff applies to the interview.
Okay. So what's the next one?
The next one is avoiding conflict.
Really?
Because I feel like I've always heard that. Like, being able to handle conflict is important in the workplace.
Yeah. Right. And it is.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're someone who can also say, like, I really try to foster a positive work environment.
Okay.
Like, I value getting everyone's opinions.
So it's about that balance again of, like, being able to assert yourself if you need to.
Right.
But also trying to keep things
harmonious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know, it's like you're framing it as like, you're a peacemaker.
Right. Not a conflict avoider.
Exactly. You're proactive. You're not afraid to
address things.
To address things, yeah.
Head on.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so the next one is a little more straightforward, I think.
Okay.
Just like lack of experience with a certain software or application.
Okay, so how do you spin that?
So this is where you really emphasize your willingness to learn. And you could even say something like, I'm currently enrolled in a course to get up to speed on this.
Okay.
Or I've been watching tutorials in my free time.
Okay.
Like you're showing them that you're taking the initiative.
So you're taking that like potential negative and turning it into like a positive. Like you're eager to learn new things.
Yes, because a lot of times companies would rather hire someone who's like a fast learner.
Right.
Than someone who maybe has all the skills.
Yeah.
But they're not really interested in like growing or changing.
Yeah, they're set in their ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the last one is public speaking.
Oh, interesting.
Because I feel like that one is very much
job dependent.
Yeah. Like if you're going for a job where you have to give a lot of presentations.
Yeah, that's not the one to use.
Right.
But if it's not,
you can say something like, I'm more comfortable working behind the scenes.
Okay.
Or like, I prefer to communicate my ideas in writing, but I am actively looking for opportunities to improve my public speaking skills.
Okay.
Like maybe you've joined Toastmasters or you're taking a class.
Again, showing that growth.
Exactly. Yeah. So they actually give two examples of like how to actually word this.
Yeah, because we've been talking very generally. Like how do you put this into practice?
Right.
So the first example is, My biggest weakness is being impatient, particularly when projects are moving slower than I'd like. I sometimes find it frustrating when progress is stalled, but I'm learning to balance my desire for efficiency with the importance of thoroughness and collaboration. I'm also working on improving my communication skills so I can better understand my colleagues' perspectives and find solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, I like that because it's like
Wait,
you're acknowledging the weakness, but then you're immediately talking about
how you're addressing it.
the solution.
Yes, it's
Okay.
action-oriented.
Yes. So the second example
Yeah.
is one area I'm actively working on is setting realistic boundaries. Because I'm so passionate about my work, I sometimes struggle to say no when I'm asked to take on new projects. This has led me to overcommit in the past, which isn't sustainable in the long run. To combat this, I'm learning to prioritize my tasks more effectively and communicate my workload more transparently with my team. I'm also exploring different time management techniques to ensure I'm using my time and energy most effectively.
I like how in both of those answers, they actually say what they're doing
Yes.
to address it.
Which is a key.
It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm working on it.
I'm aware of it, yeah.
Yeah,
You have to be specific
right.
and show them, like, here are the steps that I'm taking.
So I feel like we could go into an interview tomorrow.
And just crush this question now.
Yeah. You got this.
I'm ready.
No more canned responses for us.
No more canned responses.
We are all about authenticity,
Yes.
self-awareness,
And growth.
growth. That's it.
That's the key.
Well, this has been awesome.
This was fun.
I feel like we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
Yes.
And
So
hopefully-
a lot more prepared
Yes.
to tackle this question.
Confidently.
Yes.
So until next time.
Until next time.
Happy job hunting, everyone.